The Sega Saturn Saroo is quite possibly the ultimate accessory for all Sega Saturn owners, and in this video I'm going to explain why. Welcome to 81632-bit. So, I suppose the first question for those who don't know is, what is the Saroo for the Sega Saturn? Well, quite simply, it's an ODE or an Optical Drive Emulator. That means it allows you to bypass the now aging Saturn's optical drive, which, let's be fair, will probably be struggling in most units by now, being the best part of 30 years old in a lot of cases, and run games directly from an SD card. Now, previous ODEs for the Sega Saturn, such as the Fenrir, required you to open your Saturn up, remove the existing CD drive, place the optical drive emulator in its place, and this could be off-putting even though things like the Fenrir were relatively straightforward and involved little or no soldering at all. The Saroo is way more simple than that. It literally plugs in to the cartridge slot that every Sega Saturn has, which is usually used for game backup RAM or the RAM extensions that certain titles require, and runs from there, completely bypassing the CD drive. Now, this is an absolute game changer. It is literally plug and play ODE. You plug it in, you have your games on the card, the games will run mostly. Like most ODEs, there are some compatibility issues. The Saroo is not 100% compatible with every Sega Saturn game, and you do need to put the games onto the SD card in a specific format, which I'll go into more details about in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the Saroo running. Now, this footage was captured directly through a component cable from my Sega Saturn Mark II whilst I had the Saroo plugged in. So, without further ado, here is the Saroo in action. So here we have it. The Saturn is booting up, as you can see, and it just boots up like a regular Sega Saturn would through the boot screen. You get the license by screen, yeah, because this is a licensed product, and it takes you to the main menu. Obviously, the important one that everyone wants to try is boot a game. So as you can see, I've gone into the menu and I'm trying to choose one, and I have decided to go with Power Drift. Why? Because Power Drift was a Japanese only release. It wasn't released in the UK, and it was part of the Sega Ages collection, and I love these old Sega arcade games. And here you go. Now, I will apologise for the image looking a little bit soft. As I said, this is an analog capture from an analog device, so it's not going to look the greatest, unfortunately, because that is one item I don't have at the minute. I don't have a proper upscaler, so I figured it was best to just capture the footage raw and direct in its original resolution. And as you can see, this is Power Drift, and it is running flawlessly. You know, you really genuinely couldn't tell. If this wasn't being run from the Saroo and was being run from the disc, you wouldn't know. If I didn't tell you this was on the Saroo, you wouldn't know. You would just assume it was the Saturn running Power Drift. Everything about it's fine. The frame rate's exactly as you would expect. The controls are as you would expect. There's nothing introduced in terms of lag or any issues introduced with any frame rate problems. It just works. And it's really good, because this is one of the main reasons I got the Saroo. It's to play games that are not available in the PAL market. As you can see here, I've hit reset. It takes you back through to the menu screen. Now, I'm going to head on down to the about bit here so you can see that, This is running the latest English version of the firmware for 2024, and we'll go back up to the game selection in a second. You can load binaries, you can use it to load discs, you can use it to play audio CD, so you can still use the CD drive that's there in the machine. As you can see, I put a few games on here to try. And one thing I was interested in, given that it emulates CD-ROM, is how it handles full motion video playback, because that was generally done as a live streaming thing, and the Saroo is an awful lot quicker at loading data than the CD drive in the Saturn. So I wondered, will this cause any issues? Excuse me. And as you'll see in a second, that wasn't really a problem. So the game goes into its attract sequence here, and obviously the quality isn't brilliant. It's a Sega Saturn just running on stock hardware. There's no VCD enhancement here, but as you can see, it's running at the correct speed, you know, the correct frame pace, and there's no skipping. This is impressive, and frankly, it's just fun. I enjoy these FMV type games. If you've watched this channel long term and followed me on social media, you'll know I have a real soft spot for FMV games. And Time Gal is one of those ones. There was a Sega CD version that was terrible, so I thought, why not try the Saturn version? And yeah, as you can see, it works. I'm terrible at it, but it works. And that's really the key thing here. The Saroo is a great device. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. It emulates the optical drive of the Sega Saturn near flawlessly. Now, as I said earlier, there are some incompatibilities. There are some games that don't quite work, and you have to put the games onto the micro SD card as bin and Q files. Putting them on as ISOs or CHD files just doesn't work. It needs to be a bin and Q, each game in its own subdirectory underneath the ROMs listing, sorry, the ISOs listing, which is even more annoying. It won't take ISOs, but the folder that you put the games in is called ISOs. But yeah, you get them on there in the correct format. Things are pretty good on, I would say, 90% of the games. But anyway, that was the Sega Saturn Saroo, a simple cartridge-based ODE. Oh, and before I forget, it also does act as a memory backup unit and will act as both the 1MB and the 4MB RAM expansion cartridge. So those of you wanting to play some of those sweet Capcom one-on-one fighters that needed the RAM expansion, the Saroo's got you covered. In terms of purchasing one, price-wise, you'll find them from UK and US sellers in the sort of $80-ish, £80 marker. But if you're willing to take a chance like I did and jump onto AliExpress, you can get them a lot cheaper. Mine was sent to me from China by AliExpress for the total sum of £30 British delivered. I think it's worth taking a punt on that, but be warned, there are many, many sellers of these devices because it is an open source project. Anyone can manufacture them, anyone can sell them. But that's it. That is the Sega Saturn Saroo. As usual, I would like to give a shout out to my YouTube and Patreon supporters, Old Scott Retro and Leftback. You guys are awesome. And, you know, if you like this video, do hit the like button. If you really enjoyed the video, do hit that subscribe button. If you really, really, really liked it, ring the bell to be notified of more updates. And of course, you'll see them on the end card. You can sign up for my Patreon. You can sign up for my YouTube membership. Or if you just want to make a one-off and say thanks for your videos, I think they're cool, go to ko-fi.com and buy me a coffee. It's that simple. Anyway, I'm Rob. This is 81632-bit, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.